Hey guys, welcome to ML Plays The Sims, where it's kind of a misnomer. We don't really play The Sims, we build in The Sims. And today, what I have for you is a pocket neighborhood. I never really heard of this before, but this is a collab with Vix Sims, who is awesome and does a lot of awesome Sims 4 speed builds. And she threw out this idea of, instead of collabing on like a theme or a house, of doing this pocket neighborhood where we could split up. So each of us have built 2 houses in part of the community areas of this neighborhood. So in a pocket neighborhood, because I feel like it's one of those things that like, I've probably come across this idea before, but I had never really heard the term pocket neighborhood. But the idea is being like you have this small group of houses that are kind of like oriented around a communal area. And I think in like contrast to like a gated neighborhood that might have a communal area, or like where I live is very high density. So we have a lot of like high density like apartment complexes that have communal areas where like the point of this living space is almost like the communal part of it. So like the houses are very much oriented around the communal space. It's not just like incidentally there. And that there's a lot of like, I feel like some of the areas that would be separate are communal, not because they have to be, because they're more low density areas where like you could have all this stuff in your own backyard if you wanted, but it's more of a conscious choice to live in community. So I started out by building like this community garden because that made a lot of sense to me. Like if you're gonna kind of have a neighborhood that's oriented around community, that you would also be like oriented around having like a communal garden, growing your food together and all those things. And so I start out with this pond because would it be one of my builds without the chance to stick a pond in? Probably not. Ponds and lofts. If you want to see ponds and lofts, you are at the right place. And I do kind of stick a loft in here because I can't help myself. Though my last build did not have a loft, I will point out. But anyway, so we built this community area, and I also included like a chess table. I wanted to give it kind of a park. Like I even have, annoyingly, the park tab open here because I wanted to try and bring in more of those communal things because that's part of the idea. So I built in this like communal outdoor gazebo area, so you can have like a sheltered place if you want to barbecue or eat outside. Everybody comes outside, gets their vegetables, grills them up, has a picnic while the kids play on the playset. The funny thing about the playset is that I put it in and then we each built 2 of the 4 houses. So when you're done with this, you need to hop on over to Vix Sims channel. I will have the link, hopefully, up there at the top of the video, or if not, in the description, to her half of this collab. So you can see the community spaces she built and what the final thing kind of looks like. I have a couple glimpses for you, but like to see all the stuff she built, you'll have to hop over to her channel. But I put in that playground, and then I finished building my houses, and I built both of mine as like young professional 1-bedroom like houses. So there's no kid stuff in them whatsoever. I was like, we have this playground, which I mean, like in theory it could be a playground for like visiting friends' kids or neighbor kids, but like that just seemed dumb. So I asked her very nicely, and she put in some really cute kids' bedrooms in her home, squeezed them in there, and they look really cute. So be sure you hop over and check out her half of the collab. She was super awesome to work with and super patient, and I like delayed this a million times, and she it's just great. She's great all around. She's always been great. She's one of my favorite simmers, so I'm super glad she asked me to do this, and I'm super glad with how it came out because I feel like our houses, like some of these communities have like a very like unified theme. Like some of them look more like cottages, and some of them are more like, like tiny house communities. So it's just like everybody pulled up their tiny house trailer and they don't really have any unifying like style or architectural style. And we kind of decided to go with like the more modern eco because it's just one of those It was either that or cottages was kind of like the two we talked between. And I think cottages would have been cute, but I think modern felt more us, so to speak. And so I feel like even though our houses are eclectic and like even the two I built, I tried to build kind of, they're similar in that they both borrow a lot of the elements from like the shipping containers and those eco, like recycled, sustainable elements, but they're still like unique in their own right, and hers are very unique in her own right, but I feel like they all gelled really together, and they're all like modern. So I think that kind of became the unifying theme of like their modern eco inspired houses. And so they, even though all four of them have very distinct looks and styles in some ways, I think they like gelled really well as the neighborhood. I thought the neighborhood gelled really well in the end, especially considering that like it was built by two different builders. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope it's useful. I probably did less play testing on this than I normally do. And most of it I have play tested, and I think it will be fine. There's no ladder outside of that pool though, so just watch out. You know, it's one of my builds when there's a drowning hazard. But there is fish in it too though, so that your Sims can fish, and it looks really cool. I've never done that before, where you stick the fishing sign in the ponds. I don't think I've ever put it in a build before, and it looks really neat when I was taking screenshots, and you can see the fish. I need to remember to do more often, not even just for the gameplay, but just because it looks really cool with the fish flying around your pond. And I know now there's something from Snowy Escape now that you can put in ponds and it adds fish. So here I'm also finally unfrankenroofing, man, that's a phrase, this house, because I tend to like get really focused on part of a house, and I didn't seem to even like notice I'd left the top half of this home very like suburban style until I finally get up here, and now it looks like one house instead of two stuffed together. I just need to say this because I went back and fixed some stuff on this build. At the very end, there were just some like touches I put up after she did her after Vix Sims did her half and passed it back to me, and I still like couldn't get these windows on this roof quite right, but they're there. You get windows on the roof, but like I was saying, both my houses end up being 1-bedrooms. I forget to put a bathroom in the beginning. This is like a tiny house problem for me. And these aren't tiny houses by any means. They're actually like a decent, well, okay, so this is a 64 tile lot, so they're small houses. I don't know if they would count. I didn't pay any attention to tile count, so maybe they would count on like the large side of the tiny house, but I kind of doubt it, because they actually have a good amount of space. But anytime I do these 1-bedroom, like when I've done tiny houses, or anything super open, I feel like unless I like start with a bathroom, I just completely forget that there should be a bathroom. And I think part of it is usually they're set up in a way, like this one has a lofted bedroom that doesn't, because normally in a tiny house, you're not gonna have like an ensuite and a guest bathroom. You're just gonna have the one bathroom. And I think she squeezes 2 bathrooms in one of her houses. And I won't give any more away. If you want to know any more about what Vix Sims builds, you have to go watch her videos. That's it. That's the last spoiler alert you get. But there's cute kids' rooms, and she does a lot of awesome stuff. That's all you get to know. And I really hope you check hers out, because her builds are like, just consider mine the intro, because I think her builds are amazing. I think they're better than mine, to be honest. But I'm really proud of mine, but hers are just so cute. So you have to go watch her builds. But because you have the lofted bedroom, you have a 1-bedroom, and you don't necessarily even have an ensuite in the bedroom, like it throws off my bathroom placing moment, because usually I feel like when I lay out, like, and I don't tend to do a layout per se, because it's just like open plan, and I think that's also where I always get thrown off with the bathrooms, because I don't do a layout, so I'm not like, okay, where's the bedroom gonna go? Okay, here's the bathroom. I'm also really bad about like building offices, but that's kind of part of the open concept layout. I also, it's interesting because where I live, like I said, it's very high density. So everybody's in apartments basically, right? I don't spend much time outside of like apartment. I mean, I don't spend any time outside of my apartment now, but pre-coronavirus, even when I did get to visit other people's homes, what were those days like? Everything is apartments, and I think one of the side effects of apartments is actually, and like open concept is not like a thing as much where I am, but like it's very often that like you just don't have enough space. It's more what happens. So like the office is usually, like I have the office in this entry area, which you won't see me build, but because I had to cut out some footage, and that footage was done while I was streaming, so it wasn't as like, is a little jumpier when I'm streaming. I still haven't quite figured out how to like build and stream. So like that footage ended up being something I cut out. But when you have like a really small space, I feel like you tend to just kind of have to, like, you don't have the 4 bedrooms in like a big American house, suburban house, to say like, okay, this is going to be the office and this one is the craft room and this one is the guest bedroom. You just kind of have to use the space as you have it. So I feel like it's really common to have unintentionally open layouts. And what I say is like, you go into someone's house and there's like an office in the corner, or like one of my friends, for example, they have like a kind of like living room / guest bedroom / office kind of setup, because you just have to make do with the little space you have. And so in building these 1 bedroom smaller houses, I tend to go for these more open layouts because it makes it feel bigger too, to me. If you like close this off and you have a dining space, and none of these have like dedicated dining spaces even, and you have a like bedroom with an ensuite and a guest bed, like you just end up with all these really tiny spaces. So I'd rather have them open and have them flow together, have them have a loft, so you have more, like you can get that full ceiling height and things like that. This downside being that I seem to always forget to put the bathroom in them because I don't lay out the floor plan, was my really long way of getting to that point. But they do both end up with bathrooms. You'll notice like we've jumped to the second house here because I don't have the footage of the bathroom and bedroom and like office space. So check that out in the screenshots at the end, because the forgotten bathroom ended up being tucked in a really neat way that I thought really took advantage of the house, and it's super cute, and it's actually one of my favorite bathrooms I've ever built. So make sure you stick through the screenshots at the end and then hop over to Vix Sims video and see what she built on this lot. And then there's this, so we've moved on to the second house, which again I still kind of took some, because it has the like, they're not the like iron girder pillars, but I do use these gray concrete pillars, which kind of calls back to that idea of the storage container, even though, and like it still has the square storage container shape. So I feel like it looks very different than the other house, but I think there's enough similarities in the like styles that and they kind of like work together, and I like that. That's kind of the theme we ended up with, is we have these houses that are unique, but they're still kind of within the same style. This one almost ended up having a little bit of like a Japanese inspiration, I think, because I came back and redid it, parts of it at least. Part of it I think I did after Snowy Escape came out. Yeah, I know, because I used some Snowy. I built it and then I think I came back, and at some point, like when I was finishing up this build, was after Snowy Escape had come out, so I used some of the Japanese stuff. And even though that waffle weave fence that I used to close in the deck upstairs is from Eco Lifestyle, so it's not from Snowy Escape, it has a very Japanese look to it, I think, personally. And here's where you can tell I'm forgetting a bathroom, because I'm just going to build this whole space as a kitchen and finally remember later I need to put a bathroom down here. But the really neat part I think about this house, we'll get to here in a little bit, is like all these windows, so like the whole house, I think, so I have this back wall. In fact, it's interesting, is the one wall that doesn't like face into kind of the community or the street, one of the two, is the one wall I kind of left without windows. And I did this in the other house too, and I kind of wanted that to be where the houses were oriented towards this like communal space. So this one has windows like all over the place, and the way I did the deck is that it's closed in, so that is like the private part, but it is nice because I feel like it's like a deck that looks over the garden and looks over the pond, but having the fence go all the way across is something like you're sitting up there, you can still enjoy like the pond and still enjoy like what's happening down below, but it is closed off especially because the rest of the house is so glass and has doors and sliding glass doors everywhere, that I felt like having that deck that was a little bit more private kind of gave it a nice feel. It was like this transition between the communal and the private part of the house. And I do think it, like I was saying, it ended up having it's obviously not minimalist by any means. It's not like designed in the Japanese style. It doesn't have any of those features of a Japanese home, but I feel like more like that Japan-y style is kind of what I'm thinking of. Kind of had a little bit of an influence on the like decor in here, though it also ends up being actually, I think, a little bit more mid-century modern, so I don't really know. But I think it's mostly on that deck up there that took that like influence from the fence and this kind of like idea of having, and I think that's where I was going, where the shoji screens that they have in Japanese builds, where like the light comes in and it's like a very thin barrier, and that's what I liked of the idea of that fence, of like that's a very thin barrier. It's there, it's dividing the space, but it's not as like, even as like glass would be, it's not that thin. It's still letting kind of the environment in and out. I also really liked how this kitchen came out. It's a very like open, but I like how with the seating came out, and I really like these colors with the teal and orange. I really loved how that worked out down here. It's one of my, I really like teal and orange in general. I'm one of the few people I think really enjoys building with the orange ones in The Sims 4, but I do. And I really love this teal wall. I use it too much. I think it's because, one, it's one of the best colors, and two, not one of the best colors, it's just a nice wall. It's one of the, like, some of the colors on other walls are weird, and this one I feel like is a nice modern color, but also I just like deep blue walls. I had in like my old house like a deep blue accent wall, and it's a weakness. The deep blue walls are a weakness for me, and I really wanted to use like some hanging plants in here, but the hanging plants are a little tricky. Like I thought when those came out I would use them all the time, but because they like block paths a lot of the times, I don't end up using them very frequently at all, and they like block surfaces, so if you put them over these counters, those counters are like blocked, and it just causes problems. So I don't use them nearly as much as I would have thought. I do kind of go in, I'm not big on custom furniture. I don't tend to mess with it. I did want to have a booth here, and I tried with like all the in-game booths, and I didn't like any of them. I don't even remember. I think that one ends up being half functional, where like you can't sit in the back, but I think you can sit on the side. But I really like the idea of like having this, like, I started out with a window seat in that area. I don't know if you noticed early on in the build. I started out with a window seat there, and it didn't quite work with like the modern shape of the house. So putting the booth in, I like that idea of having, it is like more actually a dining area there, of having the dining area, not just the island counter. And then you'll see I was talking about we go a little bit more mid-century modern, put in the record player here. And then I think it's the upstairs that ends up being a little bit more, I don't know, really just like the upstairs ends up being a little bit more minimal, but I'm jumping ahead of myself because at some point here, I'm gonna remember the poor forgotten bathroom. I think it's, nope, not here. Yeah, so now this is the bedroom upstairs. Ends up being a very like minimal color palette. That's what I'm trying to say. Like the design isn't minimal, but the color palette for everything is very cream and white, and I do use one really colorful artwork up here, but the color palette in and of itself is very much these like tans and browns and like just kind of a neutral. Neutral is the word we're looking for here. A neutral color palette up here. And this one is not a loft, but it might as, but again, it's the same, it's still the whole floor, so it might as well be a loft, honestly. But I liked this idea of like, again, we have all these glass going out, we have the paper blinds and have that, but have this mix between the private space and the public space with the decks and everything. But as we get close to the end here, just thank you guys for sticking with me. I know it's been a long time since I've had much on the channel. I haven't just had the time to build like I had for a while there at the beginning of all the pandemic and that fun stuff. So thank you for sticking with me and for continuing to just support the channel. And if you do enjoy this video, be sure that you like and subscribe and probably hit notifications so you know when I actually post things. I don't have anything resembling a schedule right now, but I hope to get some more things out to you soon. And don't forget to hop on over to Vix Sims channel. I will put a link down in the description so you can see the other half of this collab and see what she built. Check out the other two homes, and if you do want to use this lot, so it's a four home lot, so I'll let her talk about hers, but mine each are these 1-bedroom homes. Unfortunately the Sims like doesn't give us a good way where you could like divide these up and like actually make it a multi-household family. You'll have to like mess around with renting or something and see how you do that, or everybody's gonna have to be one big household, which I think would go with the pocket neighborhood theme, to be fair. But I hope that you enjoy this. I hope that you enjoy the screenshots, and let me know any feedback you have. Let me know what you like. Let me know if there's anything you want to see in the future. I didn't say at the beginning, because I do build sometimes custom content. This is all no CC. I did accidentally try to stick some custom content plants in there, but I did delete them. I caught them. I was really confused because I use Twisted Mexie's mods, and so I thought they were causing problems, and nope, his mods are awesome. They're not custom content, but if you stick custom content plants in there, it sure will label it as custom content. But there's no custom content in this one. But I was gonna say, I do think I will keep up with that mix of custom content and no custom content builds in the future. So I have kind of some ideas for some things that I think I go back and forth, because I do enjoy the challenge of building without the custom content. I think it makes you be a little bit more creative when you have the slightly more limited styles, and I just think you have to be a little more creative without it, and I do enjoy that challenge. But I also really enjoy being able to like really get some of the like cool custom content clutter. We just need more clutter. So I have some ideas for a couple of those builds coming up, and we'll just see. I'm a slow builder, and I am a mom, and I have kids, so I build when I can. But thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoy the rest of the build, and don't forget, stick around for the screenshots, and then hop on over to Vix Sims, click the link to see her half of the collab. And I hope you guys have a great day. See you later.